In this video, I will examine the way 3 websites integrate with Year 10 Media Studies content. In particular, students' opportunity to manipulate media representations to identify and examine social and cultural values and beliefs, including those of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and analyze a range of media artworks from contemporary and past times to explore differing viewpoints and enrich their media arts making, starting with Australian media artworks, including media artworks of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Finally, I will introduce a new website concept, which improves upon what these sites have to offer. The first resource I'm reviewing is YouTube. So central is YouTube to the modern cultural experience that it will inevitably play a significant role in the emotional and social development of our students. But what of its educational value? With respect to the particular area of Indigenous media, the site hosts a number of documentaries on Indigenous people, some in official SBS or ABC channels, others in smaller independent channels. The channel's format also allows students to post their own videos, such that they are available easily and for comparative viewing, while the channels can be set to private so that only relevant participants may view them. This is an important feature for student security and safety. However, YouTube comes with drawbacks. The first is maintaining engagement. Given the amount of content on YouTube and the relationship between students and the platform, there is the risk of students becoming distracted. This issue may lead to lower levels of student-driven independent learning. The second issue is security. With such a vast network, it is nearly impossible to ensure total security. Even if searches can be filtered, comment sections may remain an issue, with particular concern to abuse and offensive behavior. Another issue is YouTube's dealings with copyright. According to fair usage laws, students may use parts of films or music for the purpose of research and study, review and criticism, and parody and satire, any of which may cover the use of copyrighted media in their own work. However, fair usage has not always been dealt with on YouTube, and this could mean the loss of students' work. The second online resource is the Australian Government's australia.gov.au Indigenous Film website. This is a highly useful resource in teaching the history of Indigenous media, as it lays out the history of Indigenous participation in media, both as subjects and as content creators. All films referenced in these pages are linked to the Australian Screen Database, where students can watch clips and learn more about the films, and there are a variety of links to other sources. The site also features some basic insight into the relationship between Indigenous and mainstream Australia and how these issues affected and were reflected in film, a question that lies at the heart of the subject. One of the most significant benefits of this resource is that it makes for a reliable academic resource. Unlike YouTube, which allows anyone to post without checking for accuracy, the official government website, as well as the Connected Screen Australia website, may be relied upon to provide accurate and usable information. However, there are several drawbacks. The first is updating. The site's timeline finishes in 2006 with 10 canoes, meaning it has no information on nearly a decade's worth of Australian film, including important Indigenous films like Samson and Delilah and Sapphires. The second issue is representation. The site presents Indigenous Australians as a whole. It does not deal with the varied histories and cultural relationships between Indigenous nations and the mainstream, which can be significant. By ignoring this, we are firstly not teaching Indigenous aspects of the curriculum accurately, and secondly risk lessening the engagement of Indigenous students, with whom engagement can already be problematic. Finally, unlike YouTube and the third resource, the .gov.au website offers little to students in terms of how they might create media texts themselves. The third resource is the 12 Canoes project, a website featuring 12 videos and associated artworks. The website was made with the participation of the Yolngu people of Marrinjing. By combining Western filmmaking conventions with Indigenous storytelling methods, the films offer a look at the history and lives of the people of Marrinjing, including their history of contact with white Australians, their language, and their connection to the land. This resource most effectively demonstrates what the previous resource lacks, that it is a reflection of one group and does not seek to present Indigenous people as a homogeneous whole. However, this is also its greatest failing as a resource, as its tight focus means larger amounts about other Indigenous group stories go missing. 12 Canoes is extremely effective at highlighting alternative sides of filmmaking and the relationship between culture and media conventions, aspects which are important in the teaching of media construction. And as an audio-visual resource, without large amounts of text and without distractions in the form of other unrelated videos, it makes for an engaging resource for students to use. The primary drawback of this resource is its narrow focus, which is exacerbated by the lack of links to other sites, but otherwise it is an excellent resource, an example of what proper implementation of a well thought out plan can achieve. My own concept is for a database evolved from the 12 Canoes project. The idea, which would be integrated into coursework, is for students in a range of locations to study and work with local Indigenous communities to craft similar audiovisual projects, which represent the history, culture, and modern context of the varied Indigenous peoples. These films will then exist in a database from which students will be able to select different Indigenous tribes and learn about them. This concept in and of itself is in response to the narrow focus of 12 Canoes, and can help redress the view of Indigenous people as a single homogeneous group. By creating a database to hold these stories independent of a site like YouTube, we avoid the distractions that can occur, and access being issued to and by schools to the database means that all users can be tracked to deal quickly with bullying, abuse, or inappropriate content. Additionally, as creators of content as well as viewers, students remain engaged with the subject matter and the site itself, and as each group use different ideas and concepts in their filmmaking, can learn from each other.